My name is Sangeeta Sandrasegar and I'm standing in front of I ragazzi di Millefiori, the flowers of song and story. Fundamentally, it's based around a tapestry in Italy, in Pistoia, which I was visiting in Italy last year. Part of a collection of tapestries made around that period that centred on flowers. For the past several years, the driving force behind my work is this investment in natural colour and the actual stories of migration and trade that sit behind these colours. It started with Indian indigo and the colonial and empirical history that is contained within that colour. I've been working with Heather Thomas, who's a master dyer, for several years now, and in developing this work, we were again going to hand dye and hand produce natural colours onto fabric. Brushing it on, but that's a good way to get texture actually.
All colour was made from natural dyes before 150 years ago when chemical dyes were introduced. And the history of it just fascinates me. To dye something naturally, we basically get the plants, so like the peppermint gum leaves, and I boil them up in a large pot. And we put the silk in, and the colour will transfer to the silk. But so that colour bonds to the silk more evenly and brighter and is more light fast, then we use a mordant, which is potash alum, which is an aluminium salt.
Whilst in Italy, exploring the cultural threads of textile development and colour production, I was drawn to a particular story in the research undertaken by Fed Square around Princess Bridge and this site. And what sprung up was a story about young Italian migrants at the turn of the 19th century that were working as flower sellers. The idea that these young boys were migrants travelling and selling flowers that were also travelling the globe at the same time. The fact that I was currently in Italy researching those same threads really felt like a way of interconnecting the strong history of migration that Australia has, our strong ties to Italy and our own travel and the flowers.
And then these all layer up on top of each other so nicely. Look at all those oranges and those pinks.
To see them through like the forest of organza colour.
Yeah, like these beautiful flowers.
Because it goes quite well on the back, like it goes right through.
Yeah. For this work that Sangeeta and I have created for the Atrium space, I've used traditional plants and natives around me, such as peppermint gum, and plants I've grown in my garden as weld and goldenrod flowers and some wattle, and Indian madder root and saffron wood, also known as Eastern Brazil wood. So traditional dye plants to get the pinks and the reds.
When I first started working with Heather and using natural dyes, I would never have thought that I would be able to actually paint with dyes in such a way that would then produce paintings. So the time at the Tapestry Workshop allowed us to experiment in the various ways that I could start to apply tonal variety and paint with the fluidity of a painter into the fabric. These boys are painted with mordants that then attract the various dye colours at different levels and different intensities. So I can't always see what I'm doing, I'm creating, and it's after we put them in the dye bath that the boys literally emerge. There's such a little record of the lives of these boys, and that's what drew me to them. There's one boy that has been identified as perhaps the head of the gang, Angelo Russo, and he's the central character in the panels. So in a way, this is also an ode to those sort of lost lives and those lost histories, and the sense that colour and the florals that they sell are still around us and where these boys now sit.